Welcome back to a beginner's guide to FTL Multiverse. The standard ending and ancient questline of Multiverse iterate on the ideas of base FTL, but Multiverse begins to come into its own with chaotic phenomena. Today, we'll be covering this chaotic phenomena, the unique fights associated with it, and the new mode and ending you unlock by pursuing them. Side note, quite a few of you have noticed the funky aspect ratio of the past few episodes. Up until now, I've recorded in windowed mode instead of full screen, meaning that there's some weird bars on the sides and bottom of the screen. If you didn't notice before and it's distracting you now, I'm sorry I pointed it out. I started recording in full screen to address this, but it's after I recorded what I needed for this episode, so look forward to that in the future. Unfathomably, I'm Extra Shoddy. Welcome to Chaos Mode. Do you know Q? From Star Trek, the guy who dresses like an asshole and picks on Picard. What about Dr. Seuss? Do you ever think about what he was up to when he wasn't making wartime propaganda? Well, these are neither here nor there, because we need to kill the Cat in the Hat. But first, we should talk about some strange things I've been noticing. As you roam about on your way to Sector 8, one of the strange encounters you may find is a glowing, unidentifiable ship with strange symbols. These ships come from a strange reality unknown to our own, and carry with them an equally bizarre system, the temporal manipulator. This system either significantly speeds up or slows down any action taken in a given room, whether that's combat, repair speed, cloning, taking damage, or even healing. It can be terrifying to have crew fights get out of hand even faster, or a system break and get slapped with a slowdown in the middle of your repairs, but it's not impossible to control the pace of these fights. The crew manning these ships are under a strange influence, and the rest are just as suspicious. These are sirens, seemingly interdimensional crewmates with some unique characteristics. If they look like flying spaghetti monsters, it's because they are. Sirens cannot fight, but they'll drain the health of any enemy crewmate in the same room as them. When they're directly facing crew, that crewmate becomes captivated, preventing them from teleporting and significantly slowing their movement. While it may be difficult, it's possible to defeat these ships without destroying their hull, and as a reward for taking them intact, you'll be granted a free crewmate imprisoned within. The presence of these siren cruisers at multiverse beacons hints at larger multiversal events, but as far as I'm concerned, that's someone else's problem. Like the ancient questline before, chaotic phenomena depend on meta progression. After encountering a siren ship at least once, a special kind of cruiser will appear under certain conditions. This condition, unique to multiverse, is determined at the beginning of every run and is typically known as a run's stability. At certain stability values, multiversal anomalies will have a chance to occur, such as the aforementioned siren fight. The stability of a run can't always be determined precisely, but below a certain threshold, you'll find a bottle of Arm & Hammer waiting in your hangar at the start of the run. Picking up this bottle starts what's affectionately referred to as detergent mode. Your run's stability and events do not alter whether or not you pick up the bottle, with some small exceptions, but it's a good indicator for when you can encounter these events. Think of it like this. You don't blame the thermometer when it's freezing outside. Or maybe you do. I'm not going to tell you how to treat a few drops of alcohol. Either way, weird things happen on laundry day. Oh boy, laundry day. Gotta fight the monsters. During runs with low stability, certain neutral and hostile sectors will host a particularly strange beacon. If you see the following text associated with a beacon, you've come to the rhyme place. I meant the right place. These beacons are occupied by rhyme cultists, with an unnerving fixation on a very specific style of prose. You could leave them be, but that's not proper conduct for a renegade. Rhyme cruisers are manned by sirens and their elite variant, the Harpy. Like sirens, Harpies drain health and captivate enemy crewmates, and additionally prevent them from healing via passive sources, such as medbay, but not from human medics. The Rhyme Cruiser has a unique environment that induces madness in your crew, preventing them from activating any of their active abilities. That said, it doesn't nullify already active abilities, so if you have a free Mantis or the like at the ready, you can use their ability before teleporting in. The health drain from Sirens and Harpies is a race against time, and crew combat against them is not a fair fight. Luckily, there's no major difference in reward when you destroy it, so treat it like any other elite cruiser. Once you defeat this cruiser, you'll be given a powerful, albeit peculiar beam from the wreckage. Above other weapons, I like the Seuss beam. It wrecks systems and crew through shields like a dream. Rhyme cultists also play a part in Multiverse's meta progression. Once you've defeated 3 Rhyme cultists across all of your runs, you'll see another anomalous beacon occur in Sector 8. Going to this beacon will pit you against another Rhyme cultist, giving you a Seuss beam for your trouble, but also revealing a strange waypoint to follow. Taking it will bring you to the final fight for an alternate ending. Unfortunately, you won't be given the opportunity to switch out your weapons, so that new Seuss beam is practically useless. However, if you leave a weapon slot open prior to fighting the cultist, you can make the Seuss beam fall into that empty slot before the fight. If you want to use it, keep that in mind before entering the beacon. So we followed the waypoint to a horrific eldritch realm. Wonderful. This is perfectly fine. Upon arriving, we're greeted by the strangest ship thus far. This is the personal flagship of the one who rhymes, or for simplicity's sake, rhymes. Like his acolytes, Rhymes has an unnerving fixation with speaking in prose, and whether you like it or not, he's got a lot to say. In summary, as a representative for an even more malevolent entity, Rhymes drove countless sirens from their own bizarre reality. Some chose to worship him, forming the Rhyme cultists we encountered prior. After complaining about some slug who probably isn't important, he gloats about the impending doom of your universe, right before he administers it. Naturally, this will not stand. Time to put away your daisies and put up your dukes. It's time to fight and kill God. The cat with a hat, starts the fight by teleporting aboard your cruiser and clapping about like he owns the place. And unfortunately, he's not easy to kick out. He grows stronger the longer he stays alive throughout the fight. This is not a fun time, as he can grow unbelievably fast and nearly unstoppable. Unlike most crew, Rhymes cannot die. Upon reaching 0 health, he'll restore himself to full health but revert any stat changes he's experienced. The way to fight him requires constant attention you can't always spare thanks to the lesser eldritch beings accompanying him. These things share the same obnoxious immortality of Rhymes, but through a different, more horrifying mechanism. Upon reaching 0 health, they split into 2 slightly weaker opponents, which will repeat this when they die. Beware fighting Rhymes with an anaerobic ship, as the things need to breathe. Dear God, I meant breathe. But not all hope is lost. If the things perish while stunned, mind-controlled, or set on fire, they'll die for good. Slug Rangers, Lost Sons, or even stun or firebombs can help put them out of their misery. Oh right, there's a whole ship attacking us. The Chaos Cruiser, as I'm calling it, comes with an array of mine launchers, dealing devastating hull damage if you can't cloak or destroy them in time. The boarding drones are completely indestructible, but will deactivate if you destroy their drone system, and are accompanied by occasional boarding waves of harpies and sirens. It's worthwhile to bring something to nullify their boarding party, whether that's hacking their teleporter to boot them off your ship, or using an augment to delay them at the start of the fight. Well, that could have gone better. Rhymes is an abject avatar of chaos, and there's no true escape from him. If you want to come out on top, you'll have to constantly fight on every front you can. This is all true, but only if you don't have a Gatling.
Those damn alien bastards are real. What?
Let's put aside bustin' Rhymes for the moment. We're gonna go on a side tangent for a bit because this weapon rules. The Gatling, like the Vulcan before it, is a rapid-fire weapon, but unlike the Vulcan, the Gatling requires some effort to find. The world of FTL Multiverse takes place in the aftermath of both base FTL and Subset Games' second title, Into the Breach, where the Earth is nearly completely annihilated. This is also true for quite a few other races' homeworlds. It's a little disheartening. In the Union Core worlds, you can go on a sightseeing trip on terra firma, and you'll be clued into the mysterious Gatling gun and its components, and given locations to find them. The Gatling's stock, barrel, and igniter were separated decades before the current time, and tracking them down can be tricky. One requires making a deal with established smugglers, or decimating their crew, One requires bargaining with the Mantis Elite and decimating their crew. The last requires a deal with the dead, and by deal I mean grave robbing, and a spot of decimating their crew. Once we gather our necessary parts, we assemble them in our loadout and I think we need to do some fine-tuning. As it turns out, we need to assemble the Gatling properly in our secondary menu. Upon doing so, under the right conditions, we'll even get the chance to christen it with a proper name. After besting Rhymes, he reveals that he is perfectly fine, but we've amused him enough to grant us 3 gifts. The first, no longer destroying our reality. The second, a funny ornament for our ship. Third, a dead flagship. I think that's nice. The run ends after emerging victorious against Rhymes, and that's probably enough FTL for one day. Welcome back to the nebulous affirmations. Any and all dishes made with chicken can be referred to as bird bits. Make sure to refer to them as such from now on. You cannot escape the nebulous affirmations. After getting a good night's sleep, we can find one of our unsettling gifts waiting for us in the hangar after starting a new run. And the next run. And the next run. Can I throw this thing out? Clicking the foul creature begins Chaos Mode, marked by the unwelcome inclusion of our new compatriot. The gnome is a stowaway, taking up one slot that's otherwise meant for crewmates, but cannot be moved without another crewmate in the room, and grants the debuff of madness to all non-siren crew within that room. It is truly a cursed object, but I do not think you're supposed to eat him. You can place him in a closet or otherwise rarely accessed part of your ship, lest he annoy your other crewmates or get into fights he cannot win. Chaos Mode imparts some interesting conditions to your run. You will be unable to run from certain events, like the Rebel Fleet and Renegades, and these fights are harder than they are on a standard run. The Sylvan you know and love, or at the very least tolerate, is completely absent, and will be replaced by a rather strange individual in a suit. This also means that most events and quests involving Sylvan are gone as well, so don't go looking for a pre-igniter or a morph cruiser. Certain renegades are replaced by their chaotic variants, demanding even greater tithes to Satan. Shut up, you penis! But also offering even stronger loot if you defeat them. All of them possess even stronger loadouts, and some are uniquely taxing to fight, so be prepared for some hull damage. Speaking of, the most striking difference in Chaos Mode occurs when you take hull damage. The gnome gets rattled quite easily, and will incite some unfortunate events if you take damage during a fight, including, but not limited to, beam volleys, boarding from nowhere, Zoltan shields from nowhere, ion barrages from nowhere, fire when you're really trying to deal with the other problems. These can all become cumulative in a hurry. It's bad enough when missiles knock out your weapons, but it's even worse when enemies spawn on top of them. You'll also encounter strange ships at Multiverse beacons that have an axe to grind with you. You've somehow messed up space-time, and they're here to kill you for it. Invest in cloaking and good weapons early, because they can deal horrific damage, and even if you try to board them, they can suffocate anything, whether or not it's capable of breeding. You know what? I'm not gonna try anymore. I'm done. Freud made it to the slip and slide, and he's having a gay old time. If by some freak accident you lose or kill the gnome, Chaos Mode does not end. Before leaving that beacon, the gnome will return by eating a chunk of your hull. If you manage to drag yourself all the way to Sector 8 with your Garden Goblin in tow, you'll find another anomalous beacon. Unlike our prior meeting in Sector 8 with the Rhymers, this one has no interest in fighting you, and will bring you to a rematch with Rhymes. Before the fight, he'll take the gnome off of your hands and give you an elite crewmate as a replacement. but the miserable effects of Chaos Mode will persist throughout the fight. Quite a few elite crew can deal status ailments to the things, but I recommend bringing another method of dealing with them, in addition to the non-standard methods of repairing systems. If you bring a repair bomb or shell mechanic to this fight, you'll never underestimate them again. Alternatively, you can bring the gnome to the other endings, and will be berated by your inanimate object.
I hope it was worth it, Thomas.
With an inanimate objection. Luckily, this is nothing of real consequence, and even gives you an achievement for your trouble. There isn't a crew-specific cruiser related to him, so it's not a large priority to bring him into Obelisk space. The gnome has an unnerving obsession with Oben, the Salt Man, and Oben has his own connections to Sylvan. I wonder what each of them... Wait, what? I need to activate Windows? Thanks for watching. There's some truly interesting experiences within Chaos Mode and its ending, but it's one of the more stressful ways to play the game. Multiverse is a bit more forgiving than standard FTL when it comes to crew, resources, and the opportunities to make builds, so it finds other ways to add difficulty and complexity back to the experience. Whether or not it's your idea of a good time, Chaos Mode is a unique experience, and overcoming it is a real achievement. It's well worth seeing through at some point. If you're still watching these Multiverse videos, I want you to know I still appreciate you. I've been dreading making the next video in the series about the Nexus and everything related to it, but it's something I have to do, so expect it in the near future. Stay classy.